You know what that sound is?
Well, I know. We're keeping it RC tonight. RC Cola.
Big K Cola. Because, we're in Utah. We're Mormons now.
Yeah.
We can't have alcohol.
We're born again Christians.
Yeah. Speaking of which, there's a theory tonight that comes with something like that.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Because
sir.
we're jumping into the iceberg? Ooh.
Tier 7, back to the iceberg. It's been a minute.
Yeah?
It's been a really hot minute since we've
like-
had some iceberg.
I feel like we've been doing this series for so fucking long.
There's so much to
There's
it.
still 3 more.
Yeah. I gotta say though, this is probably the easiest tier to find stuff on. Like I found a lot. I had to trim off so much fat.
Oh, yeah. There's one of my favorite ones tonight that you guys are going to hear. So make sure you listen to the whole episode. It starts with cement.
Who's not listening to the whole episodes?
I don't know.
Oh no, you got the cement one. Oh no. I forgot about that. I was kind of perusing through the
read
list
that.
and I saw it and I was like, oh no. We're going there.
Imagine
huh?
looking up the pictures of that, man.
Okay, yeah. No, I stay off the image filter on these ones because it can land you in some hot water. But yes, back to the iceberg. And we're on a hot streak, man. 2 weeks in a row without skipping. Look at us.
I know. We're
being
back.
all like good hosts and whatnot.
And that's when they went into 5th gear.
Oh, snap. Things are about to get crazy.
So I watched a documentary I really enjoyed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it about money?
No. It was about Missing 411. It's one of David Paulides. It's like his 3rd film. And, I actually paid to rent it.
Oh,
And,
you spent money on this?
And I'll tell you, the first 2 I didn't like. I didn't like them at all. I thought they sucked.
Oh.
But this one was very good. It was worth the money. It's called Missing 411, The UFO Connection.
I like anything with a good old-fashioned UFO in it.
So he never so David Paulides, again, Missing 411. It's about people going missing in the national parks under mysterious circumstances. Has to fit a certain set of types.
There's certain criteria.
Yeah, it has to hit a certain set of criteria for him to actually document it.
Yeah.
And anyways, he just goes through a ton of cases, goes through a ton of data. Dude, it's pretty fucking freaky.
Okay. Well, I'll have to check it out. I don't know if I'm willing to spend money. Like, you already spent money. Can I just watch it off of what you have?
Oh, no. Not
it's already
anymore.
gone?
It's 40 hours. Yeah. The thing is, I don't want to show, Christine this, because, you ever have kids, it kind of makes it you don't want to take them to, the national parks.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that go missing. Lots of kids that go missing in national parks.
Kids, adults, and Germans. It's really weird. All right, moving
What?
on. Yeah, specifically German descent people.
Okay.
Yeah, the criteria is bizarre, man.
I would never have guessed. If you're what are the top, types of people that go missing? Kids would be one, but I wouldn't be
It's-
grown-ass Russians.
Kids, Germans, really smart people, and, just on the spectrum of intelligence, it's always the outliers they take.
Damn. Okay. Well, cool. Maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I won't. I don't know anymore. But
Back to the iceberg.
so yes, we are starting tier 7 out of 10. So, well, technically the last one is tier 0. But, does that go to the beginning? Are we jumping all the way back to the balls?
I was told I was 7 out of 10 once.
Oh, really? You got a 7, huh?
Yeah, let's C-.
Okay. Well, anyway, tier 7. The title of tier 7 is Interdimensional Monk. So I guess we're interdimensional monks now. And the description is that the interdimensional monk sees the whole picture and is able to discern reality from unreality. Because of their nature, the mixture of entries around this tier is a really varied one and very difficult to comprehend. So that will jumpstart us into covering this. Now, I will say, and I think I said it last tier, that there is a theory within the theory iceberg that there is some purposeful disinformation placed.
Yeah, misdirection.
Yes. And if you think about it, right, if you're wanting to keep people away from the truth, really you're just fanning yourself with cash. Man, I wish I was wealthy too. But yeah, so when you're you think about looking at this list and you're like, ooh, But then you see the topic and you're like, fake, whatever, and then you scroll away. That's what they want, right? It's disinformation.
It's you're trying to get the feds off your back.
That's exactly it.
Feds.
And so there's a couple that I covered that, I'll tell you, hey, this is one of those disinformation pieces. I don't know if you had any too, but it's pretty obvious. So we will kick it off with something called Aztec theogony. And right off the bat, biggest fucking topic that had me feeling like I was all over the place, man. Like I typed this in and the wiki page I got was like 15 pages.
Never heard of it.
Well, you're about to. And, as in normal fashion with these Iceberg episodes, just going to be condensing it with the knowledge because there's so much more to it. So yeah, I'm going to condense it. So it's worth noting, though, that the Aztecs adopted and combined several traditions within their own. So it's kind of a mixed bag on what happened. But this theory gets pretty metal. Talks about the creation myth, which talks about the 5 suns, which describes 4 great ages preceding the present world, all of which ended in catastrophe, right? Everything that the Aztecs had was like just catastrophe.
Yeah. Calendar of doom.
So they were named in function of the force that ended them, which I think is cool, right? All the other periods. Now, I'm going to butcher the shit out of these names, so I apologize, but I'll try. But Coatlicue, which is the mother of Sentzon Hutsinawa, her sons, and Koyol... See, I told you. Koyolxwilki. I butchered the hell out of that. So her daughter. But she found a ball filled with feathers, placed it in her waistband, and that made her pregnant. That's how it happened in the olden days. Yeah. Her other children were like, well, who's our father? And they made a pact to kill her because that's what you do, right? You don't know who your dad is, so you threaten to kill your mom. So she gave birth on some mountain while being chased by her kids, and the newborn came to be and straight up murdered her other children, making them into stars. Right? You following along?
Yeah, just a sibling rivalry.
Right. He killed his half-sister by ripping her heart out using a blue snake and threw her dead body off the side of the mountain. Pretty cool stuff. This inspired the Aztecs to rip out the hearts of their sacrifices and throw the bodies down the temples. Like you've seen that, right? Good old-fashioned just sacrifice rituals.
Yeah, they just do it to the beat.
Right. So our age, which is the 5th age, or 5th creation, started in the ancient city of Teotihuacan. The myth says that all the gods gathered to sacrifice themselves to create the new age. The sun and world had already been created, but their sacrifice would mean the sun would set into motion and time could begin. So they're just starting time by just murdering themselves. So the most handsome god, I'm just going to call him Tech. The most handsome god, Tech, was supposed to sacrifice him too, but he bitched out last minute and refused to jump into the fire. So, the smallest and most humble god, Nanahuatl, witnessing this moment of bitchiness, jumped into the fire first, which set the sun in motion, and time began at that moment. So the handsome god, deciding he didn't want to live out his life as the little bitch who couldn't jump into the fire, finally did so in hopes of redeeming himself.
He was just too handsome.
Yeah, so he then became the moon. So there you go. That's kind of the Aztec theology that I could find anyways. So pretty cool stuff. But the next one, which is some disinformation, is the parrot. You heard of the parrot, Cleet? Not just any parrot, but the parrot?
Nope.
Okay. So this one was nowhere to be found. I tried everywhere, but when you Google the parrot, you get parrots. There's nothing else. So I'm going to give credit where it's due to Wendigoon on YouTube because he gave some pretty good insight to this theory. But essentially, it can be described as a cautionary tale, and it's more of a hazing for those doing research, right? So if anyone is doing some extensive research or a case study, they always stumble across what they call the parrot story. So I myself remember reading something like this, and maybe you will too, Clete, but like when you're doing some form of research, have you ever stumbled across a story about like a parrot stopping a burglary because they start talking and it drives the burglar away?
I've never heard of that.
Or a spouse finds out that their spouse is cheating because the parrot mimics the sex noises from the unfaithful homewrecker?
No.
Yeah, well,
heard of it.
Apparently those things are real, and the theories go a few different ways. Some state that these didn't actually happen, and they're just used to fill up some dead space, where others state it's a rite of passage for those jumping into research. So apparently when you're doing research and you're finding something, you'll run into some kind of parrot story that's made up.
That sounds made up.
Yeah, that's why I said it's disinformation, right? Because anyone reading this, like, look, these are all cool theories. And then you get the parrot, they're like, this is fucking stupid.
What, did the wife not moan? Only the mistress? I have questions.
I think they both did. The parrot was just going both angles. Started using the voice of the guy who was just coming over while the husband's at work. He's like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. And then the third one is real dowsing and rhabdomancy. We talked about dowsing, right? It was actually in a former tier. So dowsing, if you remember, is anywhere from tier 1 to 3. But the idea is that if you hold metal rods or crossed wires, you could find spiritual areas or water wells.
Or talk to ghosts.
Talk to ghosts, right? Rhabdomancy is somewhat similar, but it uses a stick to help the user out in a few different ways. One, you can drop the stick on the ground in whichever direction it points in. That's where you're supposed to go, right? So if you're like looking to go on an adventure and you're like, hey, we're traveling as a people, and you throw it on the ground, you're like, we're going that way because the stick said so. That's rhabdomancy. Another form is to say, like point right for yes and left for no, and you drop it on the ground asking a question, it'll make a decision. If it points right, then yes. Points left, no. It's really weird, right? Rhabdomancy does appear, though, in biblical texts, such as the Bible. And interestingly enough, it can be tied to a form of divination, which is a form of witchcraft. And historical studies have claimed those that have used this technique for whatever reason have fallen mysteriously ill as a possibility of encountering something dangerous. If you believe in that shit.
This seems like ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
So everyone who throws a stick saying, like, answer my questions mysteriously gets sick?
Yeah, you're going to get possessed by the devil, dude.
I don't know about that.
You don't mess with the devil's stick. But that's my 3.
Mine is Faust nonfiction. We all know Faust. So
Faust,
also called Faustus or Dr. Faustus, hero of one and the most durable legends in Western folklore literature. The story of a German necromancer or astrologer who sells his soul to the devil in exchange for knowledge and power and a lot of pleasure. There is a historical Faust, and indeed maybe 2, one of whom more than once alluded to that the devil is his Schwager, which is a German word for brother-in-law.
Schwager?
Yeah, or crony. Anyways, one or both died about in 1540, leaving a tangled legend of sorcery and alchemy, astrology and soothsaying, and was said to have studied theological and diabolical necromancy and committed sodomy and a bunch of other weird stuff. Anyways, he was basically an evil dude. So what this theory thinks is the story of Faust selling his soul to the devil was actually based on true events. So what makes this interesting is it would be one of the first stories where someone met the devil at the crossroads and sold their soul for, fame or fortune.
Or just a carton of eggs, because that's all you can, it's the only way you can afford them anymore. Then ask the devil for them.
300%, baby. Inflation. All right, the next one is hypersigils.
Oh.
So in order to understand hypersigils, you have to understand what sigils are, which these are used in witchcraft to summon or bind spirits or demons to do your dirty work.
Oh.
Like do my dishes, do my laundry, murder my neighbor.
Oh, yeah. All normal things that I think everyone feels most often.
Yeah, kick my dog.
No, not that one. Not that one.
Unsub. All right. Hypersigils, however, are used to edit you or people you know. Suppose I write a memoir about you, Britain.
Oh.
And it becomes very famous, and people read it and associate this memoir to you.
Okay.
And this isn't just like a thing, like, I'm going to keep updating it because, you got a lot going on here in the future,
Okay.
If I wrote one today, 10 years from now would be different.
Yeah, I don't know, though. I don't change much.
So as I keep updating it as time goes by, I kind of just decide to start writing my own shit in there. Like you like to yell at school buses when they go past your house.
I do this.
So even though you don't do that traditionally, you might actually start doing that in real life because So many people have read this and associated this to who you are in real life that you become almost a puppet of it.
Or I read it and I'm like, I really should be doing this.
Yeah.
Like yelling at a school bus sounds like something
that
good.
Sounds like fun.
I'm going to start now. Thanks, Cleet.
People believe this is a big factor in people in power, as many books are written about them. And sometimes they kind of, push their personalities to another level and they start to adopt that. And they believe it's because that this book is so close to their spiritual essences that they kind of combine and merge and become homogenous, but slightly altered because of the combination of these energies. That's it.
Interesting. Okay. I'm here for it.
The next one is Amazon Forest was built.
Huh?
Yeah. So Graham Hancock is well known for being on the Joe Rogan podcast and making the somewhat controversial film Ancient Apocalypse. Have you watched that?
I have not.
It's pretty good. I watched a couple episodes. Graham makes the claim that the Amazon was a mega city for ancient civilizations. They were thriving until the Spaniards came in during the 1500s and brought smallpox with them when visiting that civilization.
Whoops.
This disease was so devastating to the population as they had no herd immunity or never been introduced to this illness and thus had a massive die-off. In panic, the cities were deserted as people ran into the Amazon. And in about 50 years, Mother Nature completely reclaimed the territory. This is why 100 years later, there's no historical accounts of such a civilization. Because a lot of people came later on boats and they never saw these civilizations. But the Spaniards, they talked about these huge cities when they were coming through the Amazon. Now, through something called deforestation, something we could all say is probably bad, we are now finding the remnants of these cities that could have held populations up to 50,000 and were pervasive throughout the region, meaning that there were hundreds of cities that held at least a population of 50,000. And they, Graham Hancock, he was talking in one of his interviews, and he's talking about how the Amazon actually has really bad soil because there's such a strong competition for the fauna to take all the nutrients out of the soil. But what they found by these cities is this super nutritious dirt that's there. And they hypothesize that these people who built the civilization would farm the trees, but were able to manipulate soil to make it more nutritious and thus cultivate a very lush garden that they could eat the fruits of the fruits coming off these trees. So it's just really interesting.
All right. So let's talk about some fun stuff called Gatekeepers Remorse. So this theory revolves around some good old misdirection and then some bad feelings about it, because that's cool. So in the context of this conspiracy theory iceberg we find ourselves in, a gatekeeper, is someone whom has the information about something. In this example, let's say aliens, right? But they will write books or articles that will purposefully point people in the opposite direction to mislead them from the truth. So that's what a gatekeeper is. Now, in this particular conspiracy, there are a group of authors who feel bad about leading people astray, and they start to write books that point to the truths that we so desperately seek. Topics vary on evolution, aliens, origins of our species, so on and so forth, but yeah, there's an entire reading list of books that are used to point us back into the direction of the truth. And you could find this picture online and post on YouTube if everyone wants to get these books, but there's some freaking wild ones, man.
Huh.
Really weird. So yeah, it's people that gate kept and then we're yeah, this is bad, so let's bring people into what really happened.
Oh, okay. It's someone saying they're an insider. They know everything.
Yeah, and they're going rogue.
Galaxies were built by the dinosaurs.
Galaxies are marbles, just like Men in Black. Okay, so this one is called Broder's Engine. So, unlimited energy. Be cool, right? This theory revolves around such an engine that uses malleable metals like copper and a magnet. So if you were to shape the copper into a coil, and then you push the magnet through the coil, It creates an electron shift, which then creates electricity. Just a small amount. But if you were to get lots of copper coils and lots of magnets, that's a lot of energy. Now, if you make a mechanism that operates something like a lever, you put some coils that run the lever, then you can have the magnets pass through the coils infinitely, which then makes infinite energy.
Some type of perpetual machine.
Right? And if we were able to fill some warehouse with this, think of all the things we could power. Think of these cities running on all this cool energy. Sounds amazing. But then we have to introduce the antagonist to this whole story, which is big bad oil and electricity companies who don't like this idea, because then why would we need them, right? So that's it. There's the capability of having an engine that's clean and efficient and provides unlimited energy, but we can't have it.
Damn you, Exxon.
So there you go. Just another big bad people saying no to clean shit. And then this one, temporary enlightenment. This is in line with several other theories that we have covered and revolves around another form of self-awakening. It's described as a temporary installation of a different, higher functioning self-system which does not become established. It disables our normal self-system but keeps it intact as a structure to eventually reestablish itself.
So drugs. Drugs, okay.
Lots of drugs. So it is a little hard to describe, but if you essentially have this temporary nature or experience that lasts a certain amount of time, then fades away, bringing you to your normal state of mind. So like literally every article here was some guy that's like, join now for your spiritual awakening. And it just talks about people that had this temporary feeling of just bliss and like things are all right. And then you're back to normal.
That sucks.
And you're just sad.
Yeah.
And miserable.
I
And
was
you
happy.
realize that you're not happy.
I was happy for 25 seconds.
Yeah.
Felt great.
If that. Like, can you imagine just being truly blissfully happy for like 30 seconds? You're like, whoa. And then,
A real 3-pump chump.
yeah, that's a pump and a half. But that's it. It came and went real fast. It wasn't satisfactory for both parties. It was good enough in the moment, and then it was gone, and you're
never
like, was
was.
it really worth it?
It was very shameful.
Was it really worth it? Because now I just feel extra shitty.
Well, the first one I'm going to cover, I'm actually going to skip.
Oh, you got a fun one.
I'll let you guess what this word
Yeah,
means.
I know what that is.
We're just going to go ahead and pass there. Not going to do that one. So, my next one is Appendix Monkeytail. This is in reference to what humans have, what are called vestigial organs. You know the heart and its purpose. However, we have other organs in which scientists haven't discovered any apparent function, and thus claim they are residual parts of our ancestry.
I almost spit my cola everywhere. That was so close. That was half gulp, and I almost just blew up everywhere.
A half gulp and a 1.5 pump.
Remember your modem that we killed with beer?
Oh,
That
yeah.
almost happened again with cola.
I forgot.
It exploded.
So the appendix is something like this, which is a finger-like tube closed at the end and arises from the variform process.
Sure.
So it is believed it would have aided in the digestion of cellulose for our ancestors. It is, however, speculated now that maybe science just haven't discovered its true role, and these organs do have some role. Right now, some people think that it plays a role in digestion by bacteria. Other vestigial organs include wisdom teeth, tonsils, and the helix of the ear. It used to be thought that in humans, they had up to 200 organs that had no apparent function. However, as science progressed, they found that they actually do have specific function. So the question is there such thing as a vestigial organ, or has science just not discovered its actual purpose, right? Because a counter argument to that is, well, we evolved to have these organs at an earlier period of humanity, but over time it just became obsolete. So are they? Probably, but I don't know.
Okay.
All right, now let's talk about concrete enemas.
Oh, Oh.
So I actually found a scientific journal.
On concrete enemas?
It was written in the American Journal of Forensic Medicine and Pathology.
You just forever want a closed anus?
So there's a man visiting an ER with complaints of rectal pain.
Oh, I wonder why.
Like I'm literally, this isn't a journal. You can look it up.
No thanks.
So after examination, they found that there was a hard stone mass up the
Up the poop chute.
It wasn't in the stomach, wasn't in the armpits, wasn't in the pee-pee.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Anyways, this guy was not on drugs or drinking. And after asking some questions, it appears that him and his significant other were just making some concrete out in the yard, you know, kind of giggling, slapping each other's butts. And they thought it would be cute to...
So they're literally making concrete, and they're like, hey, want to put this in your butt?
Well, so...
Jesus Christ, man.
According to the medical journal, just to make sure we're scientific.
Yeah.
So they had a funnel lying around.
Oh, God.
And they created with someone's caboose a 45-degree angle and kind of just voila. And anyways, wasn't able to come out. But, you know, people think this might just be a cover story because apparently it is said that a lot of people go to hospitals with concrete up their butts.
A lot of people
and people think that they're not stupid enough to do that, and so maybe it's like an initiation rite to the occult or an Illuminati or some type of a nefarious group. So if you know someone who got a concrete enema,
they're an occult.
They might be an occult. You might want to avoid them.
That would be the least of my questions.
Either way.
I wouldn't be like, hey, in a cult. I'd be like, why are you putting concrete in your butt?
Yeah. That's nasty, man.
Wow.
That's my 3, because we skipped one.
So I'm going to throw a little trigger warning in on this one because it has to deal with animals, specifically dogs. But something called the Dog Suicide Bridge. Okay, now the name gives this one away, and as much as I wish that it was just like the name of some bridge and not what takes place on said bridge, I can't. This bridge is the Overton Bridge in Melton, Scotland, and since back in the 60s, dogs have been reported to jump from the bridge at an alarming rate. So not just like dog falls off, you know, tragic accident, dog falls off again. No, dogs are physically jumping from the bridge.
I've heard about that, actually. Yeah.
And it's a big bridge. It's like 50 feet high. So it's not like a little jump. It's a big jump. And dogs aren't known for having suicidal tendencies. So
hey, maybe their life was rough.
So the fact that they would just propel themselves from the top is really worrisome. Now, it doesn't appear to be accidental either, because here's the thing, is some dogs have been reported to walk underneath the bridge, and then they will climb the banks to reach the top and then jump off. To make it even more horrible, some dogs survive the initial plunge only to limp their way back up and jump again. Like, what the hell? So, to reach some form of conclusion, scientists have done some research in the area on what could possibly cause the dogs to be doing this. And one of the theories is that minks might be nesting under the bridge and that the scent is causing the dogs to jump. But again, it doesn't quite make sense in the fact that the dogs that would start under the bridge, why would they go to the top and then jump off if they're already down where the minks are? Right? Doesn't make sense. There's holes in this theory. One other theory suggests some form of paranormal involvement that may drive the dogs off the bridge. Either way, it's not a very wholesome thing. So if you're in Scotland, don't bring your dogs around that bridge. Next one is pro-war Buddhism. Yeah.
Like, yeah, you need to push your way from, like, the wants out of life. Oh, and murder people.
Yeah. So this theory literally talks about how in some instances, Buddhists have become pro-war and pro-defense in order to protect themselves. Now, if you know anything about Buddhism, you know that they are absolutely and completely peaceful, even in the face of death. They just don't fight. But in this case, In one particular instance, in Thailand in 2004, several Buddhist monks were killed by Muslim attackers, and in the face of this tragedy, monks began to arm themselves, which is completely shunned in their belief, but, they felt they had to in order to survive. So, and it's kind of funny because I guess there was this interview where some guy was like, "Oh, are you guys really arming yourselves?" And the monk lifts up his robe, pulls out a pistol, and puts it back. He's like, "Okay." So yeah, apparently that's the thing, is sometimes Buddhists will be pro-war.
In an age when a Buddhist had enough of the violence, he raises up with arms to say, "Boom shakalaka."
I feel like if we ever lived in a time where Buddhists took up aggression, I'd be like, this is physically the end of the world.
No, it just means you're in a video game, man, or some virtual reality.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong. Okay, and then the last one is Akashic Records. So the Akashic Records are a compendium of all universal events, thoughts, words, emotions, and intent ever to have occurred in the past, present, and future in terms of all entities and life forms, not just human. Theosophists believe them to be encoded in a non-physical plane of existence, known as the mental plane. There are only a few people who claim to have access to such records.
Oh, I know how you get access. You don't know? You
Drugs?
gotta get concrete.
Oh, that's the first step. You gotta fill your stuff with concrete, and that's the gateway. But yeah, only a few people have access to such records. Rudolf Steiner, Edgar Casey, and your mom, Cleet.
Edgar Casey, man, he would do it in his sleep.
So Edgar Casey did say that we as humans are all connected through what he called the Book of Life, which is kind of like a cloud storage that surrounds us at all times and contains all thoughts, dreams, and ideas of everyone on the planet.
I'm just clenching till I can freaking reach it.
Yeah. Well, no, you got to stop clenching. You got to open up and really let the concrete sink in, sir. That's the only way you're getting to this Akashic Records, is when the concrete solidifies and it closes off that portal, it opens another portal.
Makes sense.
That's what they say. When one door closes, when one ass closes, another opens.
All right, this one is cloud farming. Clouds are made up of tiny water droplets or ice crystals that form when water vapor in the atmosphere cools and condenses around a tiny particle of dust or salt floating in the atmosphere.
Science
Obviously.
with Cleet.
Without these particles, known as condensation or ice nuclei, raindrops or snowflakes cannot form and precipitation will not occur.
I feel like I'm in elementary school again.
Wow.
What is a cloud?
Cloud seeding is a weather modification technique that improves a cloud's ability to produce rain or snow by introducing tiny ice nuclei into certain types of sub-freezing clouds. These nuclei provide a base for snowflakes to form. After cloud seeding takes place, the newly formed snowflakes quickly grow and fall from the clouds back to the surface of the earth, increasing snowpack and stream flow. This is obviously a controversial science, as when humans tend to mess around with Mother Nature, it leads to unintended consequences, like building a dam where salmon are supposed to swim upstream to spawn.
Yeah, just ask M. Night Shyamalan in his movie The Happening.
I hate him. All right, seeding clouds could potentially wreak havoc on the biodome. So, maybe we shouldn't do it. But it doesn't stop countries from doing so. China apparently was doing that, and they've been accused of stealing rain from that was supposed to go to other countries.
Oh, sons of bitches.
Also, what are the limits of cloud seeding? Could this technology be harnessed into a weapon? Make flood a region?
You're pissing me off. I'm going to wipe your whole village away. You better say you're sorry.
The next one is limbic brain. Limbic brain. This is commonly referred to as your reptilian brain, as it is responsible for your lower order emotions processing of input and sensory systems. It helps in motivation, learning, and memory. It also is said to give you that feeling that you get when you get drunk or do a lot of drugs. So this feeling comes from that limbic system. So as for conspiracies, I'm not really sure, man. We evolved from lizards. I couldn't find any fucking conspiracies about the limbic system.
We evolved from lizards and do some drugs about it.
Yeah. Lizards love drugs. That's
okay.
it.
We've cracked the case.
We cracked the code yet again.
I knew we were doing this Iceberg for a reason.
So this one is potentially my favorite one. It's emergency broadcast neuralizers. So this theory believes that emergency broadcasts have the same effect as the Men in Black neuralizer and is currently being used for mass brainwashing.
Oh, that big old flash thing.
Think about it. How many times have you heard that sound? And it goes, this is a test broadcast of blah, 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 blah.
It freaks me out, dude.
It's always a test, but it's not because they're wiping your memory. So let's say Godzilla or Cthulhu is real and just comes out of the ocean, just decimates Japan. It's like, I'm coming for you, Japan. I don't like you. So say this happens. They flip on the switch and tell us Japan never existed and that this is just a routine test. Imagine all the crazy shit we've missed. Oh, God. The flying spaghetti monster just threw a meatball on the Pope. Turn on the fucking thing.
And then everything's back to normal.
Yeah.
That's kind of a wild theory.
Just think about how many times you hear it's just a test. It's never like an actual emergency. So, maybe like aliens landed. Maybe Mel finally came out of his bottomless butt. I don't know, man.
Yeah, but think about the other side of that coin, right? What happens on the day when that's not a test?
I'll be like, no, fake news.
Everyone's going to be like, oh, fucking ruining my Wheel of Fortune.
I'm just going to go watch Bob Barker. I'm out.
All right, this is a good one. The Simpsons is real footage.
I'm buying this one. This is not fake news.
So, funny you said that, because much like the Parrot, we are now going into some more disinformation, supposedly. This theory...
Maybe that's the conspiracy.
Right. So the theory here states that the Simpsons TV show is in fact real footage that's being fed through some form of wormhole of some other United States government, and it only gets crazier and crazier from there, so much so that it would literally take an entire episode just to cover all of the pieces of this one. But in regards to the disinformation piece, think of it in this list, right? People would hop on and like, hey, I wonder what theories lie in tier 7. And it's like, oh, the Simpsons is real footage. They're like, okay, it's not real. Fake news. And then they leave. It's just another piece of the puzzle that they're inserting into the iceberg to sprinkle some disinformation in to point away from what really is happening. It's true stuff, man.
Get out of here, feds.
But I do like this theory because it's not directly related, but the entire thing on The Simpsons predicting all the crazy shit that's happened, right? Like they're convinced that the creator is like a time traveler. Like they predicted the end of Game of Thrones, presidential elections, all sorts of shit, man. And this is like years ago before it happened.
You find like an alternate dimension where you can watch like a show that's funny and you're like, I'm going to make a movie out of this because I'm lazy. I can't write my own.
Right. But I mean, hey, there you go. It works. It's what, 30-something thousand seasons of Simpsons right now? Okay, this one's fun. Roman metaphysics. Some good old-fashioned metaphysics. So metaphysics is one of the principal works of Aristotle in which he developed the doctrine that is sometimes referred to as wisdom. In a nutshell, it's an attempt to discover what is real or can be determined in the real world. This made him ponder 3 questions. What is existence? What sort of things exist in the world? How can things continue to exist and yet undergo the change we see about us in the natural world? And how can this world be understood? 3 big questions, right? There were 2 conflicting ideas on this, though. The first being that we would use our senses to understand the ever-changing world. The second was we need to rely on logical reasoning, as our senses could lie to us from time to time.
Use the Socratic method.
So let's use the analogy of like a bowl, right? A bowl of cereal or something. Senses would tell us that a bowl would realistically always be the same, and that there might not be other types of bowls out there. Logical reasoning might suggest that a bowl is an object that can hold liquids, so therefore anything at all that can hold liquids would be a bowl. All this led to the idea of hylomorphism, which was developed by Plato and Aristotle, and the idea states that there is form and matter, and that despite any changes, there must always be some constant, even if we aren't aware of it. So a bowl can look like many other things, but we all know what a bowl is. And that's it. That's some Roman metaphysics for you.
Nice.
So, cool stuff.
Romans and their metaphysics.
And then this one, I swear to God, we covered on a previous tier. I think you covered it, but the prison Earth theory.
Yeah, I remember that.
So This stems from one of the biggest questions mankind has ever asked. Where did we come from?
Where'd you go? Where'd you...
It's come from Cotton Eye Joe. So depending on who you ask, you'll get a number of different theories and suggestions, especially as science has developed over the decades. One of these theories is the prison planet theory. This one is intense, so buckle up, again, because we're covering it a second time, apparently. This theory was developed by an American ecologist by the name of Dr. Ellis Silver. The basis of this theory is that humans' origins may not be found here on Earth, but somewhere else. Dr. Silver states that we are not an evolutionary product of this world, but instead we're visitors that found ourselves on this planet relatively recently on the geographical timescale. The argument is made that we came to this planet anywhere between tens to hundreds of thousands of years ago and bred with earlier developed species like the Neanderthals, which caused the hybrid species we know as humans. Buying it, right?
Sure.
Dr. Silver has many findings in which to back this theory up, and some of it may make some sense. Think about us compared to every other species on planet Earth. I mean, we are so unlike the rest in our scope of mental capacity, intelligence, ability to create, philosophize, and advance in any form of technological way. Right? Why are we so much different than every other species on the planet?
Aliens.
More on that point, think of birth. Human mothers experience both complications and pain during natural childbirth, which is not witnessed anywhere else in the animal kingdom. Why is that? There are arguments, of course, to the size of the human baby's head, but Silver argues that there is no basis for this to be normal if it is in fact an evolutionary progression. Speaking on babies, human babies develop so much slower than the rest of the babies in the animal world. Animal babies have literally been known to become super self-sufficient so much quicker than humans. And a baby horse is born and is just trotting around.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And yes, we can again argue that we also have a much longer lifespan, but that may also contribute to the cause. It all makes sense.
It's all interconnected.
So we could dive deeper into this rabbit hole, but other things like being prone to chronic illnesses, we have an aversion to the sun, our frequency to hear is much lower, and our backs always hurt. And that might be because we're just not used to the gravity on this planet.
My back always hurts. It's
Yeah,
true.
It is. The other theory on this is that the Earth is one big prison and that we're all here living in a prison, and the moon was built to keep an eye on us for some form of bunker.
So I was reading this Reddit thread about like someone getting revenge on someone. This guy was like a bartender and they fired him for, I guess, illegitimate reasons. And they had like this jukebox where you could like pay for songs, and it was like Wi-Fi enabled. And like every time they would have like their pool tournaments on Fridays with the bikers, he would put $20 of credits on Cotton Eye Joe, so they'd play it for 4 hours straight.
And you
can't skip the songs because they pay for it. They ended up like replacing the jukebox because they thought it was broken every Friday, which is Cotton Eye Joe for 4 hours.
Oh my God.
He's like, it's $20, but it's worth it.
You could film that as a reality show, dude. Just go to bar after bar in the biker range and just play Cotton Eye Joe for hours on end. Oh my God. Turn this shit off.
You laugh at the first time, but again and again.
After like 3, you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Who keeps picking Cotton Eye Joe?
You think this is funny?
Now. I think I want to do it.
I think the next time we go out, we're going to find a Cotton Eye Joe.
You put $20, you can do a ton of songs with that.
Okay, well,
because Cotton Eye Joe, I think, is a pretty long song.
Yeah, over the same fucking thing.
And if it's like 75 cents a play, and you pay it,
you
play it like 15 times in a row.
See how many people just bounce. But here's the thing, though. You can't let anyone see that it was you. Like, you have to be so discreet.
Oh, yeah.
You wear a hood, you run in, you throw it on, you bounce, you come back in without the hood. You're like, who the fuck put this on?
If it's Wi-Fi enabled, man.
Oh, my God, dude.
You're like the one complaining the loudest. Who the fuck did this?
Oh, my God. I would not want to be in that bar after the 6th time of Cotton Eye Joe.
Someone gets on the microphone. Whoever's paying for Cotton Eye Joe, please stop.
Just imagine a biker going up with a pool stick and just beating the shit out of this machine. I'm tired of Cotton Eye Joe.
All right.
I need to see this happen in my lifetime.
I'm down.
Like, I
Let's
need
do
to
it.
see this.
I'm down.
If we do it, we need to film it. And we'll put it on our YouTube.
All right, this one is inorganic beings. This is the belief that we are surrounded by conscious beings that are not flesh and blood. We believe them to be ghosts or poltergeists, but they are just creatures on another plane of existence. It is said that they crave strong emotions and will feed on them. This is why places with a strong negative history correlate with poltergeist activity. It is said that they do this because they lack a limbic system and emotions are like a drug to them. So if they find like someone with a mental illness or let's say just, a history of murder, like spirits will like gather around there because they're feeding on the energy. They're not humans. They're just another form of existence.
Oh.
This one is sleep deprivation lifestyle. So
That sounds like shit.
there's this really great creepypasta, and it's not the Russian sleep experiments. We're going to get that out of the way. But it's about an experiment where a professor gets some volunteers to partake in like this room. It's actually like a house where he blasts an inaudible sound wave so his students can't sleep. And as the days go by, they slowly start to become paranoid. And eventually that paranoia goes into hallucinations. And then they eventually start killing each other.
Jesus.
And some straight up just disappear. My favorite line is he's like, I saw my friend and an elevator opened and he got in and he went up. And he's like, then I realized there was no elevator in the house. Like, where did he go? So anyways,
that would mess with you.
Oh, yeah.
Hardcore.
It's a really good story. It's one of my favorites. And the only survivor hides under the sink and plugs up his ears. And he finally falls asleep after like hours. And the idea of this conspiracy is similar to this. It's like if you stop sleeping, you become less aware and conscious. And when being sleep deprived long enough, you go just more into a primal state. And who knows what will happen? You might lose your humanity.
So I think what we're going to do is we're just not going to sleep until we record our next episode next week, and we're going to see what we get
Joe.
for 16 hours while we're recording. See how wild things get.
All right, this one is dinosaurs helped build the pyramids.
What now?
Yeah. In 2013, a series of papyri were uncovered in Egypt.
Oh.
These writings supposedly describe the pyramids of Giza being built by dinosaurs that had been tamed by the ancient Egyptians.
That just makes so much sense.
Right.
They needed some kind of help.
It was the goddamn stegosaur and the triceratops. I mean, come on, it makes sense. Just kidding.
What's the brachiosaurus, the really long neck? That's how they reached the top. What else did they use?
Yeah, so the main theory is that not only did large long-necked dinosaurs walk the earth well after their extinction, but they walked the region of the ancient Egypt with the Egyptians, and they supposedly got tamed. And they lifted the big stones, and they helped make the pyramids. Another recent discovery from the Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities revealed that a new excavated chamber, it was from Giza, right? I believe. Anyways, it was full of dinosaur bones and drawings of velociraptors.
Yeah. I subscribe 100%.
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs built the pyramids. This one is Anunnaki Puppet Show. So we did cover the Anunnaki like a tier or two ago. Essentially just to recap, they're alien gods of the Babylonians and Sumerians, right? They came down, they're like, hey, gods, aliens, cool.
I'm Jesus.
Yeah, no big deal. I'm alien Jesus.
Your ancestors will know.
One of the only things that I could even relatively find on this is the idea that we were a form of puppet show for the Anunnaki to watch and be entertained by as we grew and progressed as a society. So, like an ant farm, right? Like an ant farm. Like, did you ever have those as a kid? They had like a little ant farm and had like the blue stuff that they ate through.
I just had an alien ant farm. Are you okay, Annie?
But yeah, so I mean, literally, like that's all I could really gather from this is that the idea is that we were just kind of a form of entertainment for the Anunnaki to watch as we grew and progressed, and they were like, let's just see how far they get, and that's it. That's really all I could find. So hopefully I'm in the right, ball court there. So, and then this one, like I talked about earlier, rapture already happened.
We're in hell.
So the rapture. We all know what the rapture is, right? Second coming of Christ. For those who might not be familiar with that, the rapture is basically Jesus coming down, snatching up the church from the earth and taking it back to heaven with him. Along with that, he also takes all of his believers, both living and dead. And he leaves the earth with all the good believers, and the rest of us here just have a shit time. Now, note that this will be secret, and all of the non-believers won't know this is happening. All of a sudden, we're just like, hey, where's all the churchgoers? They're all missing. And the rest of us are just down here partying it up. Okay, so it's kind of like they'll just be gone. They're like an exclusive membership in the clouds, like the cloud Costco for Christ.
So it already happens, like maybe 5 people were taken?
So in this whole experience, it's what's called a period of tribulation, and that's supposedly supposed to last somewhere for like 7 years. This period is essentially Jesus no longer watching over us, letting the devil take its course, and, you know, all that good stuff. Now, leading to the belief that maybe the rapture had already happened. Maybe we're already in this period of tribulation because, funny enough, some translation potentials of the whole rapture thing, it could actually be up to 7,000 years, not just 7. And one theory is that the rapture happened right after the crucifixion of Jesus, and that we're still in that 7,000 years of anguish. So that's a theory, that the rapture has already taken place, and those waiting for it, are, you know, they missed out on it.
Yeah, we only have another 5,000 years, and we're good.
Exactly. So there you go. And then the last one is Grider's Endgame. And this theory talks about a man named William Grider, who was an author who wrote for the Washington Times and even the Rolling Stones. The reason we're talking about him here, though, is because of his book, Secrets of the Temple, How the Federal Reserve Runs the Country. So in this book, he talks about a secret society that exists within the United States government and how they're proliferated through the Federal Reserve and how they're in it to form a new world order. He brings up stuff like the Illuminati, other secret societies, but the overarching theme is those who are running the money in banking circles are the ones with the power and are running the country, while the politicians are just figureheads and not important. So there you go. Just another book on secret societies.
Neat.
There you go. That's my 3.
All right, this one is soy spraying and weaponized soy.
Soy?
Yeah. This conspiracy is an explanation of what we call soy boys.
You're a soy boy.
You're a soy boy. For a long time, testosterone levels have been dipping in men on a global scale. It's like legitimate, like a lot.
Oh, I know.
Although there isn't an official cause for this, people like to point to soy because it contains plant-based estrogens. They believe that soy has been purposely put in our foods like milk, cheese, and even baby formula to feminize the male population, the global population.
Damn.
As to why they're doing that, I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess they want a more docile population to control.
Okay.
So they can have a new age of tyranny. This one is bicameralism. I got that wrong. But anyways.
Bicameralism?
Yeah, maybe. It was a hypothesis that was proposed by the American psychologist Julian Jaynes in his 1970 book, The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind, whatever. Jaynes proposed that modern consciousness as we know it emerged from the breakdown of a prior form of mentality that he dubbed the bicameral mind, or quite literally, the mind of 2 houses. Jaynes' conclusion was that until roughly 3,000 years ago, humans were not conscious in the modern sense. He argued that modern consciousness emerged as a cultural invention in software in Mesopotamia, Greece. To put this in computer terms, modern consciousness was more software than hardware. This new way of thinking spread around the world, eroding and replacing the previous mental order. And here's where the hypothesis gets even more exciting. That previous mental order, which Jane dubbed the bicameral mind, was a world of hallucinated voices. So these voices told our ancestors what to do when we encountered novel circumstances or events. These voices, he argued, were the voices that would come to think of as voices or of the gods. In this, every human tradition that entails prayer or divine voices is an echo of that time in which the brain simply worked this way. So the idea is you have your right brain, you have your left brain. Your left brain, traditionally, most of the time, 99% of the time, processes language, and it's like where the voice in your head is. The right side really just works with motions, right? So that they come to know that when they've cut the corpus callosum or whatever you call it in the brain where they communicate. And if like you look through one eye, you can like, if you close one eye and look at an object, depending on which brain hemisphere is looking at it, the left one will say, this is what the object is. And if it's the other eye and it's like the right hemisphere, it's like, this is what the object does. But they can't name each other, right? So the brain, like the left side, like will tell the right brain what's going on, and it'll be like the voice in your head, but the right just like goes through the motions. And over time, the left brain started to ask why and became conscious, whereas the right like kind of formed its own like pushback. I don't know. It's a little bit weird, but that's the idea. There you go. That's the theory.
Oh, a brain.
All right. The last one is steering anxiety. So this is about screen times and its stresses on the brain and body and detunes it from its natural rhythm. When you are in front of a screen, it's giving off energy around 60 hertz. This is a very fast energy. When your brain is calm and focused, it's generally working around 12 hertz. The longer you sit in front of the screen, the more it is wiring and tiring your brain. First, your brain becomes wired or stressed out because it attunes to the screens and begins to work faster and faster to keep up, just from the electrical energy, not even from what you're involved in or doing or watching, which usually also jacks up your brain. Then from all that overstimulation, the brain begins to feel fatigue and becomes tired. I feel tired all the fucking time, so maybe it's true. Tired and wired is an ugly combination. Think of the last time you were exhausted and stressed out at the same time.
Dude, every fucking day of my life.
This conspiracy believes governments surround us with screens so we become more docile and less likely to rise up, you know? They're like, look at the screen, idiot.
Look over here. Look over here. Flashing lights. Look at this.
I'm Alex Jones. They have screens around us for a reason.
Okay, this one is the ancient structure's purpose. So this one could go on for hours and hours on very specific examples, but the idea is that there are structures throughout time that don't necessarily make sense based on the time that they were built and without the right tools. Just like the pyramids, we now know that dinosaurs helped. That makes sense. Because without dinosaurs or aliens, how would they build those pyramids?
There's a stegosaur.
So, again, the pyramids get brought up a couple times, but there's also, in China, there are entire palaces built into the cliffside. Like structures that even in today's time would be like, how would that happen? So that's it. It's just that there is an idea that there are a lot of ancient structures around the world that just do not make sense based on the time that they were built. And there's some overarching theme that, like, who actually built them? Was it aliens? So this one, the real intentions of the road to Ruda. And I think you actually covered this one a while ago, the road to Ruda. But this one is a little bit more specific. So the road to Ruda, if you remember, it was a comic that was said to have a hidden meaning in which our political leaders want to leave banking organizations. The theories go deep, stating that the politicians and banks just do not get along and are always in a constant battle. This particular theory is more of a roadmap on how this whole thing will take place. Step 1, the banking systems would become run by computers. This would lead to step 2, which would give cults control over the markets, and they could dictate which market went up, which market went down. Part 3 comes in, which is where those in power can create false scarcity by hiding what they can actually produce, causing a panic, saying, oh, we don't have enough. Step 4 is where the political powers that be start taking action to remove to move the banks. This brings us to step 5, which is where we are currently, which is where the powers are building up cryptocurrency and trading and lending in such a capacity that will cause it all to come crashing down, therefore making us realize that we need a brand new system and they will swoop in to save the day. So that's the real intentions.
Swoop in, government.
The road to Ruda. And my last one of the evening is most drugs are benevolent.
Hell yeah.
So this theory states that most, if not all drugs, are actually beneficial to us and can actually make us more powerful. This causes the powerful people in control to poison them, which can make us sick and have adverse effects. Theorists state that the drugs can access parts of our brain which may unlock things we shouldn't have access to. Because let's face it, it'd be really hard to control us if we could all just do a bunch of drugs and get super powerful to not be contained.
I have a gallon of PCP.
I mean, if it unlocks the power, you're like, holy shit, this is what power feels like. I feel good.
I can fly.
So do a bunch of drugs,
jump
essentially.
off the roof.
Yeah. So drugs are okay, is what this theory suggests.
Don't do drugs, guys.
Yeah, don't do drugs.
We're just a bunch of idiots in a room sweating.
Sweating. I'm wired and tired, folks.
All right, here's the last three. Are you ready?
I'm so fucking ready.
This one is proto-humans. So this theory believes that there were many more different types of proto-humans than just the Neanderthals. These human sects fought for resources in the Ice Age, leaving just one winner, us.
Hell yeah.
It was also said that this moment in time was so brutal, so bloody, it left a scar on our unconscious minds, which caused the development of the uncanny valley. That is, if you see a human face that is just slightly off, you tend to get a sense of unease.
Whoa, dude, something about your face is just a little off. I'm uncomfortable.
But you, like Momo? Remember that
Yeah,
face?
Momo's bad. Or Jeff the Killer.
Momo is fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Because it like looks like a face, but it's not. It's just off, you know? But that's the uncanny valley. All right, Dublin. I like this one. Dublin has a special place in my heart.
Doveland.
Dublin, which is supposedly a quaint, rustic small town in rural Wisconsin, it was supposedly a tight-knit, charming little isolated community of around 1,000 residents, just like many others in this corner of the Midwest. But it seems that sometime in the 1990s, the town just suddenly ceased to exist. People who drove through the area would find nothing there, even though they were certain there had been a town there, and those who had visited would try to return and find nothing but rural farmland where they had clearly, in their mind, once been a town. What's more, people who swore that a town had been there would look at a map and find no trace of any Doveland, perplexing those who were sure it existed and that they had been there or even had relatives who had lived there. When the story got out online, all sorts of people came out of the woodwork claiming that they had been there or to have friends or relatives there. And there were even those who claimed to have been there and grown up there who were completely flabbergasted that it seemed to just not exist anymore. There were also those who brought forward proof of its existence, various memorabilia such as postcards, t-shirts, mugs, and other souvenirs from the town. And there was even a grainy photograph that supposedly was taken there. There was even supposedly further evidence in the form of a digital ghost trace of Dublin, in the form of a Google search, which would autocorrect and recommend search options suggesting the term Dublin. In addition to all of this, it was claimed that one could Google 2 newspaper articles about the town, with one titled, "More than 1,000 Wisconsinites reported as missing," and others being, "Who are they? Wisconsin's missing children." Rather interestingly, though, or perhaps conveniently, these articles would soon disappear from the internet into the ether and could not be found. What's going on here? Nobody knows.
Bitch.
The disappearance of Dublin.
I've been to Doveland, but
We're
I
gonna-
couldn't tell you where I was.
We're gonna leave on a funny one, which is Finland doesn't exist.
I knew it.
So I just went with the funniest statistical thing I found. This person posted online, there are allegedly around 6.5 million Finns, right? That's about 7.125 billion humans on Earth. That means Finns make up 0.0912% of the population. That's not even 9%. It's 0.09%, less than a percent. To put it another way, 99.9% of the planet are not Finns. How do we know this? Government census. Now, the best government census have a margin error of at least 1%. So Finns make up 0.0912% of the planet, plus or minus 1%. In conclusion, there's about a 50-50 chance Finland doesn't exist.
Holy shit. That's math.
That's so stupid.
So there's really a theory that says Finland does not exist.
Yeah, I think it's just a troll, but it's pretty funny. And they ask questions like, have you ever met anyone from Finland? Have you ever been to Finland? And it's like, and if people say yes, it's like, well, they're a Fed. They're a Fed. Or the Fed tricked you when you traveled to the fake Finland. Like,
well,
it's funny.
Here's the thing. If anybody is listening to our show in Finland, please write into us. Let us know that you are there and that you're not just a figment of our imaginations. Let us know that Finland does exist, because if we don't get an email from anyone in Finland, it must mean that it just doesn't exist. Okay, so that's part 1 of tier 7 of this conspiracy theory iceberg.
Only 5.5 levels to go. No, I'm sorry. There's only 2.5 levels to go, right? 8, 9, 10? I can't fucking
2.5.
I give up.
8, 9, 0. Yeah. It's late. The hour is late. But also, surprisingly, we're 2 weeks, well, actually less than 2 weeks away from our 3-year anniversary of doing this show.
You think 3 years. Get better. You'd think we'd get better. Yeah.
You'd think, right? And we're just getting worse. I mean, you've been recording with a stack of money in front of you, so we're obviously doing something okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we're drinking Big K Cola like big boys.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah. But thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Guys, we have seen some huge growth on Spotify. I mean, right now, I'm not exactly sure where we're at. Maybe 269, maybe higher.
It's gone up a lot.
No, we're way higher than that. We're at like 329. Yeah. So we have about 600 subs across platforms. So I think our goal this year is to break 1,000, maybe even 1,500 subs across all platforms.
That would be amazing.
If you're listening to us, please like, share, and subscribe, because it really helps us get us out there into the algorithms. And as always, thank you for entering the abyss.
Until next time.